Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Realtree, Muddy Outdoors, Frigid Forage, Hoyt Archery, Fuse Accessories, Rocket Broadheads, Scott Archery, Redneck Hunting Blinds, Cabela's, Bloodsport Arrows, Trophy Rock, Yeti Coolers, Non-Typical Wildlife Solutions, Quiet Cat, Deer Grow, Icon Cameras, and Nikon.
Welcome to Midwest Whitetail. On today's episode, we're going to get an update from Jared Mills and Mike Reed. And these guys have been really consistent producers for us over the years. They're going to take us back across their whole season. And while they're giving us this update, they're actually on a hunt. It's an urban hunt, and this buck is actually a classic example of how to call to a deer that's close to the stand. We've got a lot of big buck encounters for you in this episode, so let's jump right to the action.
Well, it's Sunday, December 6th. Jared and I just made it out for an afternoon hunt. It's shotgun season here in Iowa, but fortunately with the urban hunt, we're able to bow hunt during shotgun season. So we came out here, we're gonna go get set up. We're gonna do a hanging hunt again, just like our usual fashion. And we'll give you guys an update on how our season's gone so far. Well, we're all set up here in the tree. Unfortunately, we just had another hunter walk under us and come climb in his set, so not expecting a lot for this hunt tonight, but you never know. We're going to stick it out. We've got about an hour and a half left, and we figured we'd take this opportunity to kind of take you guys through our season, give you an update on that.
Our first real good encounter of the year was back on October 24th. We were hunting down to Mike's new farm, but I was actually in the hunter's stand that night, and this buck that we had just recently got pictures of within the 2 weeks before, October 24th, he came out to the alfalfa field, and when we finally figured out which deer it was, we decided to switch in the tree. When we finally got switched, Mike threw out a snort wheeze, and we'll let you take a look at what happened from there. Wait. Okay. Alright. Hit him high. That's not good. Unfortunately, I had ranged a few spots in the grass right here at 25, and so I was using my top pin, and he kind of was angling away, so I thought he got out to 30. I held a little high on him, and I hit him high, so I should have just aimed on the heart. I'm sure it would have hit right where I wanted, but it's my fault aiming in the wrong spot. I aimed a little high, and of course I hit him high. So, but hopefully it'll work out. So he's definitely a nice deer. So as you can see, hit the buck high in the shoulder. I thought he was still close enough that he wouldn't react all that much, but he did manage to duck some, and the combination of things hit him high. And we trailed him for quite a while. I was pretty confident that it was not lethal, and ran cameras pretty hard in that area. And about 3 weeks later, started getting pictures of him again. He's one that I'm hoping to get back on late season. We hunted really hard the rest of the month of November. I think I had about 20 days in stand. Jared had even more than that, and encountered quite a few good 3- and 4-year-old bucks. One buck we talked about earlier in the season, freshman. I think it's just 2.5, maybe 3.5. We had quite a few encounters with him, all in areas that we thought we would. Active like a young deer. Beautiful buck. Can't wait to see him in a few years. Had another 4 or 5 encounters with a deer we call 66. He's just a clean 6x6. He tempted me quite a bit, but he's one of those deer that's 3 or 4. Jester's another deer that we almost shot. I don't think he's older than 4. He's more of a management buck. When we saw him on November 2nd, One of the first deer that we rattled in, that was a mature buck on my farm. Anyway, the opportunity slipped by us, and he's a deer that I decided, even with sort of management buck antlers, I still would like to see him next year and see what he would turn into. Overall, it's a really good month, and now we're sort of changing our strategies coming into December here.
So yeah, well, obviously Mike saw a good number of 4.5-year-olds, and that's kind of been the story of our season. The year of the 4-year-old, it seems like it's been the same thing on all of my hunts on my farm. That's kind of both of our goals on the various properties we hunt, is just to let these deer, especially deer with potential, but for the most part any deer that's 4.5, we're trying to let go and get to that 5.5 age. So I started the season committing to one deer, and that's the deer that I called George Brett. A lot of you remember that deer from last year, from the encounters and the fight and everything. But he blew up this year as a 5.5-year-old. He was definitely pushing 180, and although he was spending a lot of time on the neighbors early in the season, I thought once November rolled around, based on me having a lot of encounters with him last year, I thought it would be the same thing this year, and it never really did. Got a few pictures here and there, and I encountered him walking into the stand one time, and I don't remember, somewhere around the 10th of November. Didn't get any footage. He was running about 80 miles an hour on a doe, up and down some ridges, so I never actually saw him from the tree stand, and he just disappeared. I haven't had pictures of him, and I recently just heard that he got killed probably over a mile away from the farm. So regardless, I was kind of hunting a deer that wasn't in the area for the most part, and I've made that mistake before, but I was just committing. That's the deer I wanted to lay my hands on, and I was fine letting everything else walk. That's what I did for a while. I had some great encounters in November with, like I said, a lot of 4-year-olds, but a couple 5-year-old deer too. I just wasn't ready to pull the trigger on anything except George Brett. I was just keeping my fingers crossed, hoping he'd eventually show up, and he never did. So one 4-year-old I did want to talk about real quick is a buck I call Hermit. I had both the sheds last year as a 3.5-year-old, and I've had 4 encounters with him this year, I think. Cool crab claw buck. He added a lot of mass this year, so I'm excited to see what he looks like as a 5-year-old. And just Friday morning, the last day before shotgun season rolled in here in Iowa, I finally had an encounter with a really old deer. He actually came embedded by us, 30 yards for well over an hour. We saw a ton of deer that morning. I'm really looking forward to the late season, and still holding out for one good deer, even though it's not George Brett.
One of the things that probably negatively impacted Jared and I's season just a little bit is the fact that we were bouncing back between our respective farms. So had we been hunting the same farm, each sharing a farm and hunting, just switching the seed each day, we probably maybe would have encountered a few of our deer based on what the trail camera showed us. So what we did during our vacation is we'd hunt 2 days at his farm with me filming him, and then switch to my farm. And it just so happened that the trail cameras revealed, like, George Brett was daylight active on his farm the 2 days we were down at my farm, and then when we switched to his farm and I checked the cameras when I got back down to my farm the week later, I had Caesar and Brutus daylight those 2 days on a hot doe, so certainly no guarantee that we would have ran into those deer, but that probably affected us a little bit. Well, it's about 30 minutes before sunset here. We just had an encounter with a little 2.5-year-old buck. That other hunter actually climbed down and left, so you never know. This is the golden hour, so maybe something will happen. I'm not all that excited, but you never know. So for the next couple weeks while shotgun season's in, probably getting a little bit of hunting done here on the urban hunt, and then we'll keep you guys updated as we move into late season back into our other farms. We'll be going after it hard with the bow still, and probably pick up a few muzzleloader tags and see if we can't catch up with some of these bucks.
No. Yeah, don't move. It's good. He's looking back to our right. Don't move. Okay, you can look or cry. He's feeding again. Okay. Try to smart wheeze. I guess, I don't know. Yeah, he's looking. Don't move. He's looking toward left now. Okay, we put his head down. Don't move. Still looking right at us. Or below us. Okay, he turned. He might be coming in. You can look now. Good. Just go slow. No way. I think that was a good shot. I'm so glad we stayed. Oh, it almost got down. He came into a snort wheeze. You took your lease off. I'm pretty worked up, but as you guys could see, we had a mature buck come in the field. This is the urban hunt. We're in a spot that I've killed bucks before. It's a great spot. Cut cornfield, a lot of waste grain. That hunter that came in right under us, right after we set up, he sat for maybe 30 minutes, then he climbed down and left. And I'm really glad he did, because where he was sitting, his wind was just totally winding this corner. But we were watching the young bucks, and I look up, and clearly mature buck, 4 or 5 year old buck, comes in, and he's heading out in the field to see these other younger bucks. And I just thought, might as well try calling to him. Grunted at him a few times, he kept looking. And then I just did a little snort wheeze back behind us here. And he just came right in to 20 yards. Pretty excited. Jared and I have had a long season. We've had a lot of good encounters, passed a lot of good deer. And we're really excited for late season. We're just game planning when he stepped out, actually, how we're going to hunt the last 3 weeks of the season. And it's really nice to get a good shot on a nice buck. So all we got to do is recover him. So we're going to give him a little time and then get down and go look. This is where he was standing. You can see him standing here. There's quite a bit of blood right here. And then he slowly walked off this way, so hopefully he didn't go very much farther. Hey. Look right by your right foot. A little bit further. Oh, God, dude.
There was a snake that would bit me. You think I was pretty focused right there? I was like, where did he go? He didn't go anywhere.
Well, here he is. Made it easy for us. Our December 6th buck. Jared and I just had to track him about 75 yards. I almost stepped on the deer. Jared had to point him out to me. I was so focused on the ground, but he's a really nice public land, city, urban buck. It's a deer I think I have some pictures of, but Jared and I have been really focused on our farms, and I typically don't hunt the city hunt very much outside of during shotgun season because I can bow hunt during shotgun season. So our hunt was kind of funny. Right after we got set up, we had a guy walk under us and go climb in a stand not 100 yards from us, and we thought, what the hell, we're out here, we're just going to stay. And he climbed down, and last hour of daylight, the deer started moving. We saw 5 or 6 young bucks, and then maybe about 10 minutes after sunset, this guy walked out. Couldn't really ask for a better turnout. Really nice, mature buck. I'd say he's 4 or 5 years old, real heavy deer. So turned out to be just a great ending to the urban hunt for us this year. Well, it's the next day, December 7th. Jared and I just got back out to the woods here to get some good daylight photos of the buck we took last night. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about what unfolded during the hunt. When this buck stepped out, it's obvious mature deer, staring down the other deer in the field. And while most people wouldn't think to call to a buck on December 6th, it was something that I was willing to try quietly and carefully. And so I called really softly out into the draw behind us, and it kind of echoed around down in there, and he couldn't quite figure out where we were, despite 3 different attempts of grunting at him. There's a couple tactics there. One, being quiet and not just blowing the call straight at him, and that's for a few reasons. One, it's post-rut, really late post-rut. You're not quite sure how the deer was going to react. With Jared in the tree, we were able to gauge his reaction and carefully go through that, but also the lack of cover in the tree. We had to be really careful with this guy out in the field that he wouldn't pick us off. So even though it's December 6th, who says you can't get a big mature buck into your set with a little snort wheeze?
Yeah, I think the key really, and Mike touched on it, but it's just a matter of being smart about how you're calling. And naturally, since I was filming the deer anyway through the viewfinder, I could watch the deer's reaction, and because Mike had to be facing the other way to make the call sounded like it was more down the ditch where the deer couldn't actually get a visual on something, I was able to communicate with Mike directly and say exactly what that deer's doing. Is he looking? Does he have his head down? Is it okay to grunt again or snort wheeze? I think that was a big advantage, having 2 people, like Mike said, in the tree and creating that illusion, obviously, that there's another deer down there, but the biggest thing is just making sure that that buck knows that it's not coming right from the field edge where he could clearly see if there's another buck. It made him curious enough that he had to come over, and there's no doubt this looked like a boss buck, and he wasn't taking another buck snort wheezing at him.
That's right.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. I've got my cameras back out. Just put them out a couple of days ago, so I'll be going sometime here in the next couple of days to pull the cards and see what's on there. This is always an exciting time for me. I enjoy what we find now. That this kind of sets up the late season hunting, and I've got a lot of food on the farm, so there's some hope that some deer have moved in during the rut, found the food, and then sort of dropped anchor here. We're going to find that out. It also gives us a chance to keep tabs on some of these really nice looking younger bucks that we've seen earlier in the year, and just see that those deer are still here, which gives us hope for the coming seasons. I've got a picture of one up here that it's a 3-year-old buck that we've been watching for a couple of years. He's notable because he's got the extra points out there on the end of the beam, and that could be a really cool deer next year too. So I just want to see how many of these we've got, start to get a real picture of what we're looking for next year, maybe even come up with a few names for some of these bucks and have some fun following them through. So come back again next week. We're going to have, as a minimum, we're going to have Chad's hunt, and we've been kind of holding that out. That great big giant deer that he killed back in I think it was early November. He had the delayed recovery, and there's so much more to that story. We felt like we needed a little bit of time to pull that all together. That'll be next week, and then we'll see what we can come up with on the trail cameras. Second shotgun season is open, and both Drew and Jordan have tags. It was such bad weather this weekend we didn't really get out. So hopefully we'll get a chance to get into the field next week with Drew or Jordan too. We'll see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail. and remember to always dream big.